Hello and welcome to a fresh segment at LU Life Church, your global spiritual community portal. I'm your host, Reverend Dr Dawnecia Palmer. Today I'll start off with a prayer. I pray blessing and peace for you, your home, and all that you have to do today and for the week to come. May peace reside with you and may blessing find you, a willing participant. Our title today, Did God Say? This is most likely the greatest question, and the answer to which is definitely the most important. There are so many voices, messages, stories, thoughts, mind chatter. We call them monkey brain. Words, words, words. But from whence do they come? Did you know that not everything that sounds good, make your hair stand on end, warm your heart, even make you smile or cry, or resonate with you? This is a biggie. That resonate with me. I get that. Well, the truth is, most time when things resonate, there's a message, and it's a message for you from God. It usually blows our mind. So difficult to swallow. Not because it's a bitter pill, of course, but because it is coming from a source and a place that is above and beyond ordinary. Or I know. Sometimes we say, I know this already. Or, you know, something, I know this from the generation before, or even the generation before that. The most lessons, the most version, the King James Version of the Bible, whatever scripture you read, most version has this written in it. In John chapter 21, verse 25, if you care to look afterwards, it talks to us that there are so many things about the Christ. There's so many things that one could say about God that is not written down right now. Because if they were written down, it said at the time when scriptures was published, if everything was written down, the world wouldn't be able to contain the books. The world wouldn't be able to contain the books. I don't really think that scripture would lie to indicate that. So sometimes I say this to say sometimes when God speaks, and it is really God speaking, amongst all the words, and there are so many voices and stories, and did God really say? Because we are measuring what we hear by what is already written down, what we call a closed off set of scripture. But God continually speaks and has spoken, and it was not written down. But God still speaks, it's still true. And so the question comes, how do we know? It's simply, does it glorify God? Does it glorify the Lord? I ask you again, did God say? Answer, does it glorify the Lord? Is it good, right, and pleasant? If God does not rejoice in the details, such as, I'm sure it is written, the Lord does not rejoice in the death of a person, then why do we go to war? Ezekiel 33 verse 10 and 18 verse 32 says that God does not rejoice in the death of any person, moreover those that we call unrighteous. So why do we go to war? Measure what we are leaning on, you know? Measure what we have got up to. Is it good for us? Yes, let's ask that question. Is it good for us? What we are hearing, what we are taking on board, or what we are saying, and believing that is a word from God. Is it good for you? Okay, well, that's not a good measure, is it? A real true measure, is it good for you? And is it the right thing to do? Because sometimes you might say, well, it's good for me. Is it the right thing to do? And does it glorify God? Now, I'm not talking about the law when I say this, and that's the thing. You see, I'm not talking about the law. The law sometimes can be an ass. Remember, at one time, a black skinned person couldn't go into certain places because it was illegal to do so. Now, is that right? Surely not. And not only is it not right for you, because it's not right completely, right? Now, my next question is this, and I hear so many believers, whatever your denomination or religion, so many believers say, but what is good and right is not always pleasant. Really? That's an oxymoron. Yeah? So, if it's good and if it's right, then it should really be pleasant, isn't it? So we need to think about the narratives that goes through our mind, that comes out of our mouth, that we allow to go into our ears, and that we allow to, you know, execute our feelings. Anything else? Yeah. So put it on the scale. Here is what you do, and whatever you hear, even what you're thinking, because you've got to control your thoughts first. That's the first place. What you allow to go in, what you allow to come up, because there is something called the collective conscious, the collective subconscious, and that contains, I mean, myriad, my goodness, of thoughts from Itla, thoughts from, you know, hatred, thoughts of pain, thoughts of murder and suicide and poverty and all type of things. Mainly thoughts about destruction, thoughts about love, thoughts about illegal things. It's in the collective. And so we need to allow our minds to sift those things and put it on the scale, even what comes out of our mouth, what we hear. And yes, we hear things all the time. We hear it from the pulpits, we see it in books, we hear it from the TV, we see it in the media. That's why I'm not really interested in the media, because the media, we won't go there today. But sift it and put it on the scale of good and right, because anything else is just fluff. So you can, if you don't want to do that, and you might say, well, it's not right, but it feels good, it looks good, and well, it's pleasant to me, but it's not right. So it's not on the scale, it's not balancing on the scale. Well, you can take your chance. Yeah, I would advise against it. But the certainty is, does it glorify God? You see, does it bring life? Is it life giving? Okay, is it really pleasing? Well, this is a short segment today, because we're living in a world where, as I said at the start, there are lots of voices and messages and stories and thoughts and words and words and words. We need to know from whence they come. And it is the word that becomes flesh, the words that take on flesh. And we look around us today and we see so many people embodying those words that are not of life, or words of death. So as we allow the word of truth, the words of truth, thoughts of truth, truthful thoughts, good thoughts, godly thoughts, to envelop our being, putting them on the scale, the measurement scale of God, which is good, right, and pleasant, pleasing to God. Do you know what happened? We live glorious lives. And so today, very short segment, did God say? Well, this is LU Life Church, your global spiritual community portal, and I'm your host, the Reverend Dr Dawnecia Palmer today. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe. Send us a like, send us a comment, and a donation. To make your donation, there's a PayPal link in the description box below, where you can go directly to the PayPal website, making your love gift out to lulifechurch@gmail.com. You might also, if you have a prayer request, send your prayer request to lulifechurch@gmail.com. Thank you for listening today. You can always rewind, and you can always re-listen to other recordings that we have done over the past years. Bless you, and thank you for joining us today.